Hello, I'm Alan, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. As you know, last week I did a century ride, which was the longest of my training rides. Starting this week, I pared it back a little bit distance-wise, but I am seeking out hillier routes than what I had been doing previously. So today I'll be doing 75 miles, but it's not the same route as you've seen the last few weeks, going over the Tappan Zee Bridge, going up that bike path. Not today. Today I'm going up near Bear Mountain and looking for some climbing. As you know, I'm preparing for a cross-country journey. I am going to be going through some mountainous areas, and so I do need to get some hills in my legs. So here we go. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. Well, without further ado, let's ride. Okay, this ride took place on Sunday, March 17th. I started at 5:30 a.m. It was a 75.18 mile ride. In terms of the weather, at the start, it was cloudy and 48 degrees. With a feels-like temperature of 46 degrees. It did get considerably warmer during the ride. As a matter of fact, I was wearing tights and a long-sleeve jersey and a hat and gloves, but I did come across a number of cyclists by the end of the ride who were wearing shorts and short-sleeve jerseys. So by the end, I was a bit overdressed, but that's okay. The humidity was 75%, and the wind was, at the start, 1.8 miles per hour from the south-southeast. By the end of the ride, I think this was another ride where the wind picked up considerably, but it is what it is. In terms of elevation, I had a total elevation gain on this ride of 4,810 feet. For comparison, last week's century, I think I only had, I don't remember how many feet it was, but it was less than 2,500 if I remember correctly. I seem to think this one had about double the elevation in only 75% of the miles. So definitely qualifies as a hillier ride. According to Strava, I had an average power output of 118 watts. And I burned 1,971 calories. During the ride, my Garmin device registered 5 major climbs. Unfortunately, I don't have the Garmin device with me right now, so I can't go back and look up the statistics of those climbs. But I did look on Strava, and according to Strava's data, there were 6 Category 4 climbs, or 6 segments that were rated as Category 4. The first one was the segment called 400 feet Jones Point. It was only 0.86 miles in length, with an elevation gain of 270 feet. At an average gradient of 5.9%. That doesn't sound that bad to me, but it did rate it as a Category 4, so I'll go with it. And I completed that segment in 7 minutes 39 seconds at an average speed of 6.8 miles per hour with an average power output of 186 watts. The next Category 4 segment was Crestview Drive Climb, which was 1.15 miles in length, with an elevation gain of 333 feet, an average gradient of 5.5%, which I completed in 9 minutes 43 seconds at an average speed of 7.1 miles per hour, with an average power output of 177 watts. The next Category 4 segment was Queensboro Road Climb, which was only 0.19 miles in length, but with 287 feet of elevation at an average gradient of 28.5%. It took me 1 minute 12 seconds to go up that short, steep climb, which was at an average speed of 9.5 miles per hour and a power output of 145 watts. The next segment was Embrace the Suck, which was 1.39 miles in length, 340 feet of elevation, 4.6% average gradient, which I did in 11 minutes 37 seconds at an average speed of 7.2 miles per hour with a power output of 158 watts. Next was Gate Hill Road, which was 1.4 miles in length with an elevation of 414 feet, an average gradient of 5.6%, which I did in 13 minutes 34 seconds at an average speed of 6.2 miles per hour and an average power output of 163 watts. And the last of the Category 4 segments was Spook Rock Road Climb, which, judging from these statistics, had to have been right after a long descent. And you'll know why I say that when I get to my average speed. It was 0.22 miles in length with an elevation gain of 437 feet and an average gradient of 30.6%, making it the steepest of my segments. And I completed it in only 50 seconds at an average speed of 16.4 miles per hour with an average power output of 70 watts. So I have a feeling I was probably going, close to 30 miles an hour into the start of that segment and coasted up most of it. But it is what it is. My average moving speed on this ride was 14.0 miles per hour, and I had a maximum speed of 39.9 miles per hour. I could have easily gone faster if I had the guts. I don't. There were some fairly steep long descents, where the road conditions were not that great, and so I was riding the brakes because there were bumps and ruts and potholes and all kinds of imperfections in the pavement. My total moving time was 5 hours, 21 minutes, and 29 seconds, and my elapsed time was 6 hours, 38 minutes, and 54 seconds. And you're probably wondering why there was so much of a discrepancy between my moving time and my elapsed time. One of the reasons was fairly early in the ride. I got a flat tire, and the first challenge was changing the tire. The tire I have on my back wheel is new. I had replaced it recently because I had found a cut in the tire that was there. The bike shop didn't have the same tire, so they sold me something that they felt was comparable in terms of flat protection. And let me tell you, that tire was so tight on the rim, it was major work getting it off, and it was even harder getting it back on. But I persevered, and I did get it back on the wheel. And then putting the wheel back on the bike, I somehow messed up my rear derailleur. And as I started to ride off, I was having all kinds of problems shifting. And I have never adjusted a rear derailleur before. I've seen my bike shop do it. I've seen YouTube videos on how to do it. But this time on the road, I had to make the adjustments. And so I had to stop several times, make small adjustments, continue on, make some more adjustments. I didn't quite get it perfect, but I got it close enough that it was acceptable for the rest of the ride. I am bringing the bike in for an overhaul next Monday, And so I know that when I get it back, it's going to be like butter. So I'll just deal with it this next week and next week's long ride. My average heart rate was 126 beats per minute, with my maximum heart rate being 149 beats per minute. My average cadence was 68 RPM. My max cadence was 182 RPM. And I had 20,926 pedal strokes, for those of you who count steps for your walking activities. As I said at the start, this ride was supposed to be 75 Hilly miles, and I think it certainly fit the bill. Next week's long training ride on Sunday calls for 80. When I got back and I was telling Teresa about this ride, she said that I should do Skyline Drive again. We had done a metric century at one point last year where there was this long, relatively steep climb, and we ended up walking up most of the climb, and I think it was well over a mile, possibly 2 miles of climbing that we walked. That was a road in northern New Jersey called Skyline Drive, and so I looked at that route. That route is, 65, 70 miles, something like that. Next week's training ride or long ride calls for 80 miles, and so obviously that particular route is not long enough, but it certainly qualifies as hilly. And so my plan for next Sunday is to do, I renamed that route Skyline Drive, so I'll be able to find it easily. I plan to do that route, stop the video, give Teresa a call, she'll come out with her bike, and we'll ride the trails together. So that will be my video next week. Will be a hybrid between riding solo and riding with Teresa. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Another successful Sunday long training ride. That one was pretty challenging, and it certainly was not without incident, but I'll count it as a success overall. As a matter of fact, I guess the flat that I got may have been good training for when I'm on the cross-country trip. In any event, until next time, stay safe out there.